Ok.
Say test.
Olá. Teste.
Good morning. Good morning. If I may call for all our esteemed delegates here, participants here, to be seated as our session is about to start, and I have the honor and privilege of introducing our special remarks that will be delivered by our own Deputy High Commissioner Kelly T. Clements. Please, to the stage. Thank you.
And Farhad is going to join me. I'm going to say a few things and then good morning, everybody. And then I have a very important question for Farhad. So colleagues, I am so pleased to be with you here this morning. And what my team probably doesn't know is that why this event is particularly special is that my graduate degree is in urban affairs. So cities, city planning, the importance of urban areas being the front line to welcome newcomers. This is something that I learned perhaps 30 or 35 years ago. But you have an esteemed group here of mayors that will be able to tell you firsthand what's been happening much more recently than 35 years ago. I think what is important to break in terms of a myth very quickly is that the vast majority of refugees, of course, live in urban areas. They don't live in camps. They don't live in remote settlements. They live amongst a population and communities that, of course, that are much greater and much larger. And cities and the mayors who run them, they're key interlocutors, of course, and they're direct contributors to refugee inclusion. Mayors and actors at the city level change the way that refugees are received in very concrete and tangible ways. What they say determines very much what communities may think about those newcomers coming to their communities. They are the first line of defense and first line of service and information when it comes to schools, for example, health facilities, other things that refugees or newcomers may need when they come to urban areas. And in many cases, it may be the place where they stay and they sleep that first night when they arrive. Cities are very much on the front lines, of course, of the refugee response. This is recognized in the Global Compact on Refugees. And as we've often seen how city populations can swell because of a refugee influx, creating much greater strains on services that we all normally take for granted. Access to water, for example, to sanitation, to hospitals, or waste disposal. Mayors are often the innovators, finding ways to ensure that their city can continue to provide services to all residents, citizens, and newcomers. And the reception that cities give often sets the political tone, both in positive ways, but unfortunately sometimes in negative ways. And as mayors only know too well, that response is sometimes misused to politicize and demonize refugees. And that's why your work is really so important, because cities lead from the front in changing people's lives. So I have to say, it's looking at the materials for today and the esteemed panel that we have assembled to talk about this issue, the diversity is striking. Geographic diversity, diversity of size, of the way these cities were conceived, and they've grown over time, but they all deal with and try to address similar issues. And they all are leaders in refugee inclusion. Municipal staff know how to help and support asylum seekers and refugees, and we are so encouraged by the 100 pledges that have already been made by local authorities. And I have a feeling as a result of this time together, there will be many more. So thank you for that. And our message, of course, is we hope that you can keep it up, and we will continue to support in any way that we can. So I'm really pleased to have Farhad with us, who's come from Paris, as I understand, another big city. And he's going to tell us, because he's lived these policies firsthand in Paris, to share his insights with us on what mayors can do, what cities can do to better include refugees from a policy point of view, certainly, but from a very practical point of view, I hope too. So thank you, Farhad.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly, and good morning, everyone. Glad to be participating in this panel also. I am Farhad and I work for an international NGO called Singa that supports refugee entrepreneurs in the host societies, mostly in the cities. So we do get to work a lot with the mayors and the cities, and I think it was enough underscored that the role of cities in including newcomers, refugees, it's quite important, and that's what I have experienced myself firsthand as the forefront and the actors being in the front line of hosting and welcoming refugees. Cities do play an important role. And on that, I think for a key factor for refugees to thrive alongside locals is the role of the city to include refugees, which can go through many different ways, some of which Kelly already mentioned: access to health services, access to housing, access to education, access to decent job. But what I also think is quite important is their participation in the debates and in the decisions that impact their lives. And that's something that I have firsthand experienced in Paris myself. And I think it's important not only because it renders those programs and initiatives more concrete, because the take from people on the ground is important, but it also is a win-win situation for the cities. Because as refugees, we come from a different part of the world with different perspective on things, and that can only enrich the debates and the decisions made. This I see on a daily basis through the entrepreneurs that I support at Singa, how resourceful and how innovative some of the ideas that comes from the part of refugees. I'll cite one example among many others that I see on a daily basis. Rais, who's a Syrian entrepreneur who launched a business of collecting metal waste in France, but of small volume. That's a service that did not exist in France and no one thought of it. But Rais, that was his job in Syria. And he quickly found that gap, launched his project. Today, his project has a double impact of collecting metal waste, but also creating jobs. And he works in close collaboration with different cities in France. So I think we can take this example and many others to foster more inclusion of refugees in the debates and in the decision of cities at a general level, but especially cities. What I heard, a very interesting quote that I heard yesterday was that exclusion is more costly than inclusion. And I would add to that inclusion is an investment with a very high return. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't have it in my round of show. I'm moderating this session. So thank you, UNHCR, for unlocking this official space for mayors to really share what they're doing on the ground every day to welcome, include, and refugees, but all migrants in general. I'll be brief because I really want you to hear it from the mayors. But thank you again for inviting us in this space. It's very special for us. When mayors are invited at the table, they really show up in full force, but also with a lot of solutions. After all, they're mayors. They're doers. They're not delayers, and they come up with a lot of concrete steps. As Mayor Rees of Bristol announced yesterday, and as you mentioned earlier, Mayors from around the world are coming up to the forum with 100 pledges to implement both compacts at the same time. And with that, they're coming with 80 million in financing commitments to make these actions a reality. These pledges really make a tangible difference in the lives of refugees, but at the same time, they keep the world on track to meet global goals. After all, local actions are national successes. So we'll hear how mayors are making a difference in the life of their residents, all of them, in just a moment. But let me give you a big picture of some of the actions that we're seeing from the 100 that we collected. 25 of these actions promote refugee reception and inclusion. For example, Bucharest in Romania is expanding refugee access to education, employment services, housing, and medical care through a new public policy. 29 actions serve refugee children and youth. For example, Ramallah in Palestine is rehabilitating a park in a refugee camp to improve the quality of life for children living there. We have 42 actions expanding employment and entrepreneurship opportunities for refugees. For example, we have the mayor of Kampala who is building green jobs for refugees in his city and working with Nairobi to do that across borders. We also have Barranquilla in Colombia, who is connecting hundreds of refugees and other migrants to formal jobs through their opportunity center. And this project is becoming so successful that they are using this as a proof of concept to unlock more investments in the city. So a lot of these actions not only are creating self-reliance in their clients, the refugees that they're serving, but also in the cities to be autonomously able to unlock solutions. 23 actions are addressing the impact of the climate crisis on displacement. For example, Beira in Mozambique is revitalizing unused city buildings to relocate people forced to move because of severe flooding. There's a lot that I'm not covering, but the wealth of this action was collected through a unique partnership between the Mayor's Migration Council, UNHCR, IOM, and UCLG, the Call to Local Action for Migrants and Refugees, which is our official pathway to invite cities to pledge to the compacts. And all of this is captured in this flagship report that we'll be distributing soon. So with that, I'm honored to turn to our first speaker for today, a major host city of refugees who is using the Global Cities Fund for Migrants and Refugees, our funding arm for the Call to Local Action, to accelerate inclusive climate action in his city. Mayor Al-Shawarba, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Victoria. Good morning, everyone. Allow me to speak in Arabic. Please use handset. صباح الخير جميعا. فخور اليوم بمشاركتي بالمنتدى العالمي للاجئين 2023 وللمرة الثانية. بالتأكيد هذه المشاركة ضمن مشاركة أردنية متميزة وكبيرة برئاسة جلالة الملك عبد الله الثاني ابن الحسين ملك المملكة الأردنية الهاشمية، والذي كان متحدثا رئيسيا في افتتاح أعمال هذا المنتدى، والأردن كدولة شريكة في تنظيم هذا المنتدى العالمي. اليوم نؤكد من خلال وجودنا في هذه القمة على التزام الأردن إنسانيا مع أزمة اللاجئين الذي لم يفرق يوما بين مواطن ولاجئ، خاصة في مدن مثل مدينة عمان، وفي دولة ثلث عدد سكانها من اللاجئين. والشكر للمفوضية السامية للأمم المتحدة لشؤون اللاجئين على تنظيم هذه الجلسة. التعلم من رؤساء البلديات بشأن إدماج اللاجئين في المناطق الحضرية من خلال التجارب التي تمت في مدنهم، حيث أن المدن في طليعة إدارة أثر الهجرة، وكذلك بناء مجتمعات شاملة وآمنة ومستدامة. مدينة عمان وعبر السنوات كانت وما زالت مدينة مستضيفة للاجئين والمهاجرين الذين وجدوا فيها ملاذا آمنا وبيئة مناسبة للعمل والعيش، وتسعى دوما وتبذل قصارى جهدها في تقديم الخدمات لجميع الساكنين بغض النظر عن وضعهم القانوني، وتعزيز مبادئ الاندماج الاجتماعي، وذلك لتحقيق الأمن في المدينة، وتراعي من خلال تقديم خدماتها تحقيق مبادئ العدالة الاجتماعية. هناك ما يقدر بنحو 194 ألف لاجئ سوري مسجل في عمان رسميا، على الرغم من أن الرقم المرجح أن يكون أقرب إلى 400 ألف لاجئ سوري في المدينة. وبالمقارنة يأوي مخيم الزعتري ما يقارب 80 ألف لاجئ سوري، ويعتبر من رابع أكبر مخيم اللاجئين في العالم، بمعنى أن مدينة عمان تستضيف عدد من اللاجئين أكبر من حجم رابع مخيم اللاجئين في العالم. وأيضا يستضيف الأردن حوالي 4 مليون لاجئ، أكثر من نصفهم اللاجئين الفلسطينيين، غالبيتهم في المناطق الحضرية. دائما التركيز مؤخرا على اللجوء السوري، يتم التجاهل. هناك ما يزيد على 2 مليون لاجئ فلسطيني موجود في الأردن من سنة 1948 وسنة 1967، أي من 75 سنة والأردن يستضيف اللاجئين الفلسطينيين. ومع ذلك فإن معظم الاستثمارات الدولية تستخدم مخيمات مثل الزعتري والأزرق. وفي الوقت نفسه أدى تحرك اللاجئين إلى عمان إلى تفاقم البطالة وزيادة الضغط على البنية التحتية في المدينة، وذلك لتوفر فرص العمل والسلامة والخدمات العامة في ظل الموارد المحدودة. تستثمر صناديق مثل صندوق المدن العالمية للمهاجرين واللاجئين التابع لمجلس لرؤساء البلديات للهجرة MMC في الحلول المستدامة التي تقودها المدن للنزوح في المناطق الحضرية، والتي تعود بالنفع أيضا على المجتمعات المستقبلية. ولا بد من الإشارة إلى ما أشار إليه جلالة الملك في خطابه أمس حول خطة دعم الاستجابة للأزمة السورية، أن الدول المانحة لم تلتزم بأكثر من 22% من المقدر لهذه الخطة، وهذا يشكل ضغط هائل على الحكومة المركزية وعلى الإدارات المحلية في نفس الوقت. يقدم صندوق المدن العالمية 8 ملايين دولار إلى 28 مشروع مدينة بما في ذلك عمان، حيث يساعدنا الصندوق على الوفاء بتعهدنا تجاه الميثاق العالمي للاجئين، والذي تشرفنا أن نكون جزء من فريق التعديل على هذا الميثاق العالمي للهجرة. من خلال صندوق المدن العالمية تقوم عمان التي تدعم الاندماج الاجتماعي للاجئين مع تعزيز قدرتها على التكيف مع التغير المناخي بتأهيل حديقة وأكاديمية المناخ للأطفال في عمان بمساحة 4 دنم، وبرامج تهدف إلى تعزيز وعي الأطفال حول قضايا المناخ، حيث يقع المشروع في منطقة العبدلي بالقرب من مخيم الحسين للاجئين، أحد أكثر مناطق اكتظاظا بالسكان في عمان. فحوالي 40 ألف شخص يعيشون حول المشروع، 30% منهم من اللاجئين. وسيحقق المشروع التنمية التعليمية والاجتماعية فضلا عن الوعي البيئي والتماسك الاجتماعي للأطفال من كافة فئات المجتمع بغض النظر عن وضعه القانوني، إلى جانب توفير مساحات خضراء ستشمل الحديقة أول أكاديمية للمناخ للأطفال في المدينة لتثقيف الجيل القادم من سكان عمان حول الإدارة البيئية وتنمية الطفولة المبكرة واللعب بين الأطفال السوريين والفلسطينيين والأردنيين كقادة للمستقبل في الأردن. كما وفي عمان هناك عدة مشاريع نوعية بشراكات مع هيئات دولية ووكالات الأمم المتحدة مثل UN Habitat والUNDP والUNHCR، وبتمويل من الGIZ والEBRD وحكومات دولية مثل اليابان والحكومة السويسرية، مثل المرحلة الثانية من مشروع قلب عمان ومشروع تحسين الظروف المعيشية في الأحياء والرئات الحضرية، بالإضافة للتعاون الأكاديمي مع الجامعة الهاشمية في دراسة بحثية إعادة تنظيم الاستجابات للنزوح طويل الأمد في المناطق الحضرية. دراسة مقارنة بين المخيمات ومناطق اللجوء الحضري كأدوات تخطيطية تقييمية وغيرها من المشاريع والمبادرات والبرامج الاجتماعية والتنموية وورش عمل الدعم النفسي والتمكين. فكانت الخدمات تسعى لضمان الاندماج والتماسك الاجتماعي من خلال تنفيذ أنشطة تستهدف الجميع في مرافقها بما فيها المراكز الثقافية والاجتماعية. الاستثمار في الحلول الحضرية لمشكلة النزوح يؤدي إلى نجاحات وطنية، ونحن نثبت ذلك في الأردن. دعونا الآن نثبت ذلك في جميع أنحاء العالم، وهذا ما سبب وجودنا اليوم معا حتى نثبت نجاح ذلك في كافة مدن العالم. Thank you very much. شكرا.
Thank you, Mayor, for investing in the future residents of your city while teaching them about the environment, which will also help steward the sustainability of your city. So from a founding member of the Mayor's Migration Council, the Mayor's Migration Council actually was created by you, to our newest member of our board, Ron Nirenberg, Mayor of San Antonio, Texas, United States. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Victoria. On behalf of the city of San Antonio, I am honored to share lessons on how my city is supporting refugee inclusion. More than that, I'm excited to announce my commitment to do more. First, today marks my first day as a member of the Mayor's Migration Council's Leadership Board. Joining the mayors of Amman, Kampala, and others, I will use this new role to bring the voice of American cities into the global spaces like this Global Refugee Forum. I'm committed to pursuing the mission of MMC over the next 2 years, working with San Antonio to lift up the voices of my city's refugee and migrant community and facilitating the U.S. asylum process for hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers who pass through San Antonio, the closest transportation hub to the Southwest Texas border. That brings me to my second announcement. Today, I am pledging to the call to action, local action for migrants and refugees. With this pledge, San Antonio will continue to provide a migrant resource center to respond to the humanitarian needs of asylum seekers. And I will personally engage in advocacy to push for better, more inclusive immigration and asylum processes and policies in the U.S. and globally. I'm taking this public stance because refugee issues are personal to San Antonio. While the state of Texas has been putting up barbed wire and militarizing the U.S. border, San Antonio has taken pragmatic actions that work for both San Antonians and those fleeing in search of safety and opportunity. Since January 2021, San Antonio and its community-based partners have stepped up to serve nearly 600,000 asylum seekers from more than 100 countries. San Antonio established a migrant resource center in June of 2022 to respond to this need so that asylum seekers who cross the U.S.-Mexico border are welcomed and treated with compassion. The MRC provides a safe place for families to wait for transportation to their final host communities. And working with our partners, we provide emergency shelter, food, and assistance as asylum seekers navigate the complicated system to their asylum claim asylum claim processed. I'm committed to securing funding to keep the MRC open as long as necessary to provide safe, orderly, compassionate, and dignified response to the impacts of the migration challenge. San Antonio is also home to thousands of refugees. The city has resettled nearly 4,500 refugees since 2021 and is a major destination for Afghan refugees. I'm committed to building a meaningful dialogue with these communities to ensure that San Antonio's plans reflect their needs and support long-term inclusion. San Antonio, like every city at this event, is doing a lot, but we can't do it alone. To the global group of countries, foundations, and business leaders listening here, join us, support us, invest in us. When refugee inclusion works in cities, refugee inclusion works nationally and globally. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor. And with that, we'll move to Marina del Pilar Avila Olmeda, Governor of the state of Baja California.
Hola, buenos días a todas y a todos. Antes que nada, vengo en representación de la gobernadora de Baja California, la maestra Marina del Pilar Ávila Olmeda. por lo que quiero extender mi más grande reconocimiento y agradecimiento a las autoridades locales por esta acogida que hemos tenido durante estos días para el Foro Mundial sobre Refugiados. Y pues básicamente decirles, Baja California históricamente ha sido una entidad de tránsito, retorno y destino de personas en contexto de movilidad. En este sentido, el trabajo que se ha realizado para la atención a las personas refugiadas y solicitantes de refugio, que actualmente se estima que tenemos 16,000 personas en la entidad. Obviamente hemos unido estos esfuerzos para poderlos atender y qué es lo que queremos hacer. El compromiso es consolidar el centro de atención integral para las personas refugiadas y solicitantes de refugio. ¿Cómo lo vamos a hacer? Con el apoyo y con la suma de esfuerzos de todas las dependencias de los 3 órdenes de gobierno, gobierno federal, gobierno estatal, gobierno local, de las agencias internacionales, en este caso un agradecimiento para ACNUR. Es más fácil decir el alto comisionado ACNUR que las siglas en inglés, ¿no? Pero bueno, eso lo quería decir porque de verdad sí se dificulta mucho. Entonces, también la participación de los empresarios, de la banca, de las organizaciones de la sociedad civil, es importante para que podamos realizar un trabajo fortalecer un trabajo que ya estamos realizando a través de la COMAR, la Comisión Mexicana de Ayuda a Refugiado, desde el 2021 que estableció y abrió sus oficinas en Tijuana. Cabe mencionar que Tijuana es una de las ciudades que se caracteriza por tener la mayor recepción de personas y en este sentido, con las organizaciones de la sociedad civil, como es el Proyecto Salesiano, que es quien nos presta las instalaciones a la COMAR, que abiertamente y con toda la disponibilidad hemos trabajado de manera conjunta. Y bueno, en agosto 23 de este año, a través de una consulta participativa con todas las dependencias y con todas las organizaciones, incluyendo a personas refugiadas, establecimos 2 compromisos. Y ese compromiso, uno de ellos y el principal que abarca los 2, es precisamente consolidar el centro de atención integral a las y los refugiados. Y bueno, ¿cómo lo vamos a hacer? Coordinando y abogando porque este centro multipropósito le hemos llamado, porque es más práctico, ¿no? Es que nosotros queremos incrementar el 5% de la atención que ya se brinda. ¿Qué atención brindamos en este centro? Estamos hablando de que tenemos la participación del sector del Estado, que sería educación, salud, trabajo, y bueno, tenemos toda esta participación. Estamos atendiendo, en este año llevamos más de 4,000 personas atendidas, solicitantes de refugio, en donde les estamos brindando todo este acompañamiento, pero finalmente queremos comprometernos a fortalecer el 5% más sobre lo que ya se está haciendo. Es muy importante destacar esto porque precisamente es lo que distingue a Baja California, es lo que distingue a Tijuana de ser una entidad con localidades, con municipios totalmente abiertos. Vale la pena mencionar que nosotros queremos hacer todo esto consolidando a través, con la permanencia de estas dependencias en el trabajo diario que se realiza en la COMAR a través de convenios interinstitucionales para formalizar la presencia de estas instituciones. Se debe de mejorar la infraestructura del centro a efecto de que podamos tener mayor recepción y una mejor recepción para las personas refugiadas y solicitantes de refugio. Necesitamos promover registros con datos desagregados de atención por edad, género y de diversidad en este centro. Queremos implementar campañas informativas de los servicios de este centro multipropósito a la comunidad. de acogida que viene siendo, en este caso lo tenemos ubicado en Tijuana, y finalmente es establecer este diálogo y también que la misma comunidad sea partícipe de los servicios que se brindan aquí. ¿Qué tipo de servicios tenemos? Tenemos servicios médicos, tenemos servicios dentales, tenemos servicios psicosociales de acompañamiento, tenemos servicios en cuanto a la inclusión educativa. A través del Servicio Nacional del Empleo también se están haciendo estas ofertas y ahorita se está trabajando arduamente con las cámaras empresariales y con el sector bancario precisamente para promover la inclusión laboral, la inclusión formal para todas las personas, este grupo de atención prioritario, a efecto de que puedan incluirse, que puedan integrarse en nuestra sociedad. También sabemos que la inclusión cultural es muy importante y entonces todos estos temas somos los que tenemos que trabajar y expander de manera gradual estas atenciones. ¿Cómo lo vamos a hacer? Revisando los marcos legales que ya tenemos establecidos. Se acaba de publicar el protocolo de atención para las personas en contexto de movilidad y obviamente ahí tenemos que incluir a las personas refugiadas. Se va a hacer una revisión sobre este protocolo precisamente para poder nosotros asegurar la inclusión de las personas refugiadas. Y bueno, facilitar el acceso a los servicios de protección e integración de las y los refugiados en Baja California es el compromiso que se ha adquirido con los 3 órdenes de gobierno y la participación de todas las organizaciones de la sociedad civil y las agencias internacionales. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. The next speaker is Edward Infante Lopez, Mayor of Carmen de la Legua, Peru. The floor is yours.
Muy buenos días. Muchas gracias, Victoria. Primero quiero agradecer a MNC por la invitación para poder visibilizar las acciones en beneficio de la integración de migrantes y refugiados en mi distrito. Yo provengo de un distrito muy pequeño, allá en el Perú, en Lima, Perú, en Carmen de la Legua. Reynoso es mi distrito, Callao. Los que conocen Lima, Perú y han ido al aeropuerto Jorge Chávez, salen y hay una virgen enorme que está a 5 minutos. Ese es mi distrito. Allí comienza mi distrito. Un poco a los que conocen ya el Perú, ahí está mi distrito. Mi distrito tiene 1 kilómetro cuadrado de área urbana y vivimos en ese kilómetro cuadrado 60.000 personas, de las cuales el 10% son migrantes y refugiados. Y es interesante contarles primero que yo soy producto de la migración también, dentro de mi propio país. Mi familia llegó del Ande hacia la costa y se apostó allí, en Carmen de la Legua. Y en los años 80, por la violencia que hubo en el Perú, muchos de mis vecinos, familiares y amigos se fueron hacia Venezuela. Venezuela acogió a muchos peruanos en esos años de los 80 y 90. ¿Y cómo es la vida? Hoy los acogemos con todo cariño también aquí en mi distrito y es lo que quiero contarles un poco cómo es este tema de esta acogida que nosotros le damos también a los venezolanos y siempre yo como alcalde he iniciado en enero, recién voy a cumplir 1 año y son 4 años de gestión. Y desde el primer día hemos implementado bastantes acciones en función justamente para refugiados y para los inmigrantes, que especialmente provienen de Venezuela en el caso de Perú. Y los venezolanos y todos los migrantes y refugiados han llegado a nuestro distrito buscando también una vida mejor, huyendo también de una crisis política, económica y social que azota a su país. Desde el primer día de mi gestión hemos implementado una serie de acciones para apoyar a los refugiados en 3 ejes principales: educación, salud y empleo. Y digo que es importante también que sepan que en el Perú las leyes para un alcalde, nosotros no tenemos injerencia directa en educación, ni salud, ni empleo, porque eso le corresponde a los ministerios del gobierno central. Pero hay una realidad existen nuestros hermanos venezolanos y tenemos que resolver problemas cotidianos. Y para eso hay que tener coraje y ser creativos, que eso es lo más importante de las autoridades. Y en ese sentido hemos abordado en función de la educación, un programa de entrega. En marzo comienzan las clases y entonces tocamos las puertas de empresas amigas y logramos juntar útiles escolares para todos los chicos, ¿no? Allí nosotros tenemos un promedio de cerca de 6.000 refugiados y migrantes, con lo cual en las escuelas públicas nosotros tenemos un promedio de 1.200 alumnos, niños y niñas. Y para todos, tanto para los carmelinos, digamos, y para los nuevos carmelinos, ¿no? Carmelinos le decimos a los que viven en mi distrito. Y entonces también hemos organizado clases de aprestamiento y nivelación escolar para que puedan adaptarse al sistema educativo peruano y superar las barreras del idioma y la cultura también, en algunos casos, porque tenemos también de Haití y de otras partes del mundo, en menor cantidad, pero también. Además, hemos puesto también en marcha un programa de psicólogos en las escuelas, eso en alianza también con algunas universidades de nuestro país. Y estos psicólogos en las escuelas hacen acompañamiento también en los hogares de los niños para brindar un apoyo emocional a los migrantes y refugiados que han sufrido traumas y violencia en su país de origen y en su travesía también migratoria. En términos de salud, hemos dispuesto una ambulancia itinerante con médicos y enfermeras que recorren todo el distrito ofreciendo atención primaria y preventiva a los refugiados y migrantes, sin importar su situación legal. Lamentablemente, y ustedes comprenden que si la situación no está clara en términos legales, no tienen acceso a la salud. Y nosotros, sin embargo, hemos puesto a disposición desde el primer día. También hemos realizado ferias de servicio para migrantes, viendo sus temas legales en alianza con organizaciones internacionales como la OIM, a la cual agradezco también que hemos podido nosotros celebrar un convenio con ellos, ACNUR, y también Hayas y Beneactiva, con la cual también ya estamos celebrando un convenio que son miembros también de la coalición por Venezuela. Todos ellos para que ayuden a regularizar pues el estatus migratorio y acceder a los servicios públicos. Asimismo, hemos organizado campañas médicas gratuitas en espacios públicos de la ciudad, donde se brindan servicios de vacunación, odontología, oftalmología, ginecología, entre otros. A nivel del empleo contamos con un programa llamado Emprende Carmelino. Emprende Carmelina, para el empoderamiento económico de las mujeres, especialmente las refugiadas, que son las más vulnerables. Y ahí les hemos capacitado y han podido, a través de esta capacitación, llevar a cabo ferias itinerantes donde mostrarán todos sus emprendimientos y han podido vender y tener dinero para llevar a sus hogares. Bueno, estas son, también hemos incorporado a varios migrantes dentro de la gestión municipal. O sea, vienen trabajando con nosotros algunos médicos, algunos técnicos, inclusive hasta personas que han pertenecido al ejército, Fuerzas Armadas, y ya están incorporadas también en temas de seguridad. Nosotros reafirmamos nuestro compromiso de seguir trabajando por los refugiados, con los refugiados y para los refugiados. Y nos comprometemos por ello a fortalecer nuestro programa de educación, salud y empleo, promover la participación de los refugiados en los espacios de decisión, como se señalaba. Eso es importantísimo de la gestión local. Y para ello hemos formado una mesa de concertación y diálogo, donde están justamente asociados los migrantes y los refugiados, y traemos también a la empresa local y nosotros como autoridades para ver cuáles son sus problemas y comenzar a resolverlos de manera conjunta. La solución se da de manera conjunta y también queremos que se abogue por una política nacional e internacional de protección y soluciones duraderas. Finalmente, y solo para culminar, si me lo permites, 10 segundos, aquí le hemos entregado, ¿no es cierto?, nuestro plan de acción local para los refugiados y migrantes, para construir un futuro para todos y para todas. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. Next, we have the Councillor of Fundão in Portugal.
Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour. La municipalité de Fundão nichée au cœur du Portugal, se trouve dans une région rurale caractérisée par une faible densité de population et d'un vieillissement démographique. Afin de dynamiser notre communauté, nous avons élaboré un plan stratégique axé sur l'innovation pour attirer et retenir des professionnels hautement qualifiés à court et à moyen terme. Aujourd'hui, à Fundão, plus de 1200 ingénieurs informatiques et leurs familles, originaires de 72 pays différents, ont trouvé une meilleure condition de vie. En réponse à l'appel mondial à l'entraide et à l'accueil de réfugiés, notre municipalité a créé le premier centre de migration au niveau national offrant une réponse publique intégrée pour l'accueil, l'inclusion et l'autonomisation des réfugiés. Depuis, notre centre pour l'immigration a accueilli environ 300 réfugiés avec un réseau de 24 habitations essentielles pour l'autonomisation. Nous assurons un suivi permanent et individualisé dans différentes dimensions. Le logement, la santé, l'éducation, l'emploi, la formation, la culture, la religion, l'apprentissage de la langue portugaise. Cette assistance est assurée par une équipe multidisciplinaire de 30 fonctionnaires municipaux et de médiateurs réfugiés comme Sadiq Narozi de la communauté afghane. En reconnaissance de nos efforts, Fundão a reçu cette année le prix de la capitale européenne de l'inclusion et de la diversité décerné par la Commission européenne. Force de ces accomplissements, nous travaillons actuellement à l'élaboration d'un pacte municipal pour l'accueil digne des réfugiés avec l'Agence portugaise pour la migration, l'intégration et l'asile. Nous sommes convaincus que les municipalités, en raison de leur proximité avec la population, jouent un rôle crucial dans la promotion du développement et de la cohésion sociale. Notre objectif est de voir ces nouveaux arrivants devenir des fundanenses, des citoyens à part entière des Fundão. Nous aspirons à être du bon côté de l'histoire, en accord avec la vision universaliste et humaniste défendue par M. António Guterres, notre compatriote et actuel secrétaire général des Nations Unies, originaire du Fundão. La municipalité du Fundão est connue pour voir des meilleures séries du monde. C'est pourquoi, afin de conclure de manière significative, permettez-moi de partager une citation inspirante du poète japonais Kobayashi Issa. À l'ombre des cerisiers en fleurs, personne n'est étranger. Merci et au plaisir de vous retrouver bientôt à Fundão. Tout de suite, je passe la parole à fundanense de l'Afghanistan, Sadiq Narozi. Merci.
Good morning. My name is Sadiqa Naurozi, an Afghan refugee who left her country like tens of thousands of other refugees who left their country after the collapse of the Taliban in my country. I am honored to be invited to the GRF as a part of this big event as a refugee delegate from Portugal. I'm working as intercultural mediator for refugees in Fundão municipality in Portugal. Based on my life experience as a refugee in Fundão, I have 3 recommendations for the local authorities and the local actors to their work to receive, include, and integrate the refugees. First recommendation refers to meaningful inclusion. Involve your refugees in your policies, to hire them to help fellow refugees and asylum seekers for their integration. It is very helpful for both local authorities and refugees community because they are integrated faster And the second recommendation refers to streamline and diversify services. In Funda, we have the big center of migration, that inside of this center, we have psychologists, social workers, translator, intercultural mediators, social case workers. Everyone is available in one places. The third recommendation is individualized and close support. Refugees in Fundao have access to their supported in the area of health, education, documentation, work, housing, and Portuguese language courses, as well as the legal issues like family reunification process. And this support is offered on individual, and some of them in the first, and some of them it is a little bit longer. And this is available for all the refugees in Fundao. These three elements contributed greatly and successfully integrated myself and my community in Fundao. Thank you.
Thank you. We often ask cities to be included, but cities need to include their migrant refugee populations and work in partnership, not in parallel. So thank you for that. With that, I'm very pleased to transition to the next panel, led by my friend and colleague Emilia Saiz from United Cities and Local Governments. The floor is yours. Please bring your own city speakers. And while we transition, please enjoy a short video.
These cities in the Americas are leading the way in the inclusion and integration of refugees and migrants. They are known as cities of solidarity.
Cuando nos dieron la oportunidad de ser parte de la institución de alguna manera, nos dimos la tarea de poder llegar casa a casa.
Lemnis Montanes is a Venezuelan community leader and agent working at Centro Integrate, which is run by Medellin's local government. She trains and counsels refugee and migrant women in the city's 13th district so that they can thrive and rebuild their lives.
El trato que recibe la población migrante, la población refugiada, la población desplazada, es el mismo que recibiría cualquier ciudadano de Medellín que se encuentre en condiciones de vulnerabilidad.
Abelis, a Venezuelan agricultural engineer, has landed a job related to her field of study thanks to a UNHCR-supported employability program in Córdoba.
Realizamos por un lado un aporte o capital semilla para desarrollar emprendimientos, y también lo que desarrollamos fue pasantías pagas en empresas. Veía que muchos emprendedores migrantes se habían conectado con diferentes empresas vinculadas en FIDE y habían generado un clima ya casi familiar. Esa experiencia y esa vivencia refleja o es el mejor ejemplo de lo que se puede lograr cuando el Estado, organización y el ciudadano trabajan de manera conjunta.
O sea, fue una alegría tan grande porque dije, por fin voy a hacer algo que me gusta. Fue muy satisfactorio haber quedado seleccionada en Luxpan.
The city of Córdoba is strongly advocating for the integration and inclusion of refugees and migrants in host communities.
Hay que integrar, hay que conectar, hay que ser más humanos, y Ciudades Solidarias es un gran camino para eso.
Casa de la Mujer de la Unión, an organization supported by UNHCR and Montevideo city government, offers capacity building courses so that refugees and migrants are able to get jobs as well as access protection and other services that further their inclusion in Uruguay.
Nosotros tratamos de enseñarle, bueno, cómo se hace a la uruguaya. El conocimiento de lo que son los marcos de referencia son súper importantes. Quizá ellos tienen
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Good job, Victoria and colleagues in the previous panel. What a wonderful morning we are having. It is great to see so much interest for the local and regional perspective in this refugee forum. I was talking last night with my mom that haven't seen me in a while because I've been traveling around the world. And I was saying to her, she was asking, where are you now? And I said, I am at this refugee forum. And she said, oh, it must be really sad. And I said to her, actually, no, It's a very strong, hopeful environment, and I'm not sure if that reflects the world that we are living in. But I am very happy to see how much commitment there is around the room to actually make things work and to include people and not see people as a problem, but actually people as a solution, as a possibility, as a neighbor. And this second panel of this important side event, which is very much a continuation of the local and regional government day that we organized yesterday, is going to look at how local and regional governments need to work with other stakeholders and with other spheres of government. This is a challenge that nobody can look at on its own, and is in fact a challenge that cannot be seen as a siloed issue. It needs to be connected with the rest of the agenda, with the development agenda, with the economic agenda, with the social agenda of local and regional government. So this is what we are going to be covering now. How do we address these shocks and increasing challenges that we have? What kind of partnerships do we need? And what kind of innovative approaches do we need to have? And we are convinced in the Mayors Migration Council and United Cities and Local Governments, our whole constituency, in fact, gathered at the Global Task Force, that innovation happens at local level. And hopefully you will be hearing from very interesting cases in this panel. So I'm going to start by giving the floor first to the Mayor of Bristol, Mayor Marvin Rees, who is very active in several networks, and we've talked about it before. In fact, what we see is that cities that have a strong migration agenda also have a strong international agenda and a strong local development agenda. So tell us how you're doing it. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Took me by surprise being first. I just want to pick up on something you said at the beginning about the tone of our gathering here. I can get caught into the language of talking about crisis, climate crisis, migration crisis. But what we have here is a whole collection of people who are leading places that are focused on actual solutions. And what you will hear is a whole group of people telling you stories of people who have had hope brought into their lives from positions of what might appear in the first instance, hopelessness. I'd also start by saying, having said that, on a global level, the machinery you have in place is not fit for purpose. Not because there's a lack of will, perhaps, although in some places perhaps there isn't, but because we are not making use of all the resources at our disposal. Cities are here. They are international organizations. They exist because people moved in the first instance. And you have a whole collection of mayors who were saying, bring us on the field of play. Because we have intention, we have assets, we have populations, we have experience, and we come with a commitment not just to make pledges, but to deliver actual on-the-ground solutions. I'm here today with a number of hats. I'm Mayor of Bristol. I chair Core Cities UK, which is a collection of the 11 biggest cities outside of London. I'm a member of the Mayors Migration Council, have been here since the beginning, and being part of those collaborations have been incredibly important. Both to what I do inside Bristol, but how we as a collections of mayors and cities seek to shape the national and international context within which we work. Because delivering the solutions we have at our disposal cannot be delivered simply by working within our city boundaries. We have to be able to shape policy, and we have to be able to shape finance, and narrative important, as you spoke, Chair, at the beginning. The framework, the way that people understand and relate to people movement and refugees is important in creating a space or closing down the space and the resources we have to be able to bring our solutions to bear. So we are important in my city. It's very important that when new people arrive, and I've welcomed at City Hall people from Syria, from Hong Kong, from Ukraine, from Afghanistan, that I say you are now part of an international city, 180 countries of origin. You are welcome in Bristol, and Bristol welcomes you. That's not to say it's going to be easy, but we set that framework from a start. All right, they make us more of who we are. It's also important that we mobilize our resources at the city level to support people. We have Ashley Community Housing that provides housing and job support. We have Prime Way Care, itself set up by a refugee, a Somali refugee, now employing around 150 care workers, not just working with refugees, working with the receiving community as well. And 90% of those women working in a care work are refugees themselves as well. We have The Haven, a healthcare service providing vaccines and health care interventions for refugees coming to Bristol. So much that's going on, and you get that self-enforcing good. But amongst the challenges that we need to unlock to help us deliver, you can't do anything without money. We talked about this yesterday. I'm not just talking about funding, because good money and good urbanization brings a return. As we heard from the mayor earlier on, exclusion costs money. So we want to build inclusive societies, and only 1.2% of the money pledged has actually gone to subnational actors. That's not good enough. It needs to get into the hands of people who spend it on delivery right here, right now. And one of the reasons that I'm so pleased to be able to say today that with the Mayor's Migration Council, we're bringing our Global Cities Fund for Migrants and Refugees to £50 million to put directly into the hands of mayors and subnational actors who are delivering on the front line. So my message is today, recognise the role of cities, recognise the leadership of mayors, work with us, we are a solution. Thank you.
Yeah, you are a solution indeed, and I would like to thank UNHCR very much for understanding the important role that the self-organized constituency of local government has, because like the mayor was saying, these mayors here are representing not only themselves, but an organized constituency that's trying to develop a collective agenda. So thank you very much for that, and to bringing the financial architecture also to the discussion, Mayor. It's extremely important. Allow me now to go to Lampedusa. Lampedusa in Italy, we've got the mayor, Filippo Manino, with us, and I want to invite him to speak now, because he will be going to plenary to also speak on behalf of the local and regional governments in a moment. So we do understand, Mayor, if you need to leave, that's also okay. È un vero piacere averli con noi, Sindaco. Alla parola.
Grazie, buongiorno a tutti. Credo che molti degli obiettivi dei Global Compact, in particolare nella loro declinazione a livello locale, possono agire sinergicamente con l'attuazione dell'Agenda 2030 e che la cooperazione strutturata tra differenti attori e livelli istituzionali possa essere decisiva per progredire in questa direzione. Da questo punto di vista, la chiave di lettura locale è quella della vicinanza alle persone, alla maggiore facilità di raggiungerle e coinvolgerle nella vita comunitaria, mettendo a disposizione opportunità di beneficiare degli stessi servizi disponibili per i cittadini ed elaborarne di specifici indirizzati ai bisogni dei nuovi arrivati. Facendo riferimento a molti degli obiettivi dei due compact, è facile osservare come questi vadano nella stessa direzione di quelli dell'Agenda 2030. Penso ad esempio a quelli relativi alla riduzione delle disuguaglianze e di ogni forma di discriminazione, a quelli che puntano all'inclusione sociale da ottenersi nell'ambito di società coese. Oggi però vorrei concentrarmi su un obiettivo in particolare, quello di identificare e rispondere ai bisogni dei migranti che si trovano in condizioni di vulnerabilità, con riferimento particolare ai bambini, ai minori non accompagnati e alle donne. E qui vorrei focalizzare sull'aspetto della tutela della salute fisica e mentale, che è di grandissima rilevanza a Lampedusa, dove le persone che arrivano necessitano in moltissimi casi di assistenza sanitaria speciale e che portano con loro traumi psicologici di enorme portata dovuti a ciò che hanno vissuto nel loro percorso migratorio e alla traversata del mare. Quello che avviene quotidianamente a Lampedusa può essere esemplificativo di come gli obiettivi dei compact e dell'agenda e in realtà di ogni azione volta a generare cambiamenti positivi e duraturi nelle nostre comunità debbano essere perseguiti in maniera integrata con l'avanzamento in un ambito che sia accompagnato in parallelo da progressi negli altri aspetti della vita nella comunità urbana. Bisogna vederli come un insieme scindibile in cui i confini tra gli obiettivi vengano superati in modo da poterli affrontare in maniera integrata. Questo per il fine ultimo di garantire la sostenibilità del cambiamento e il fluire pacifico e coeso della vita comunitaria. Infatti, la sfida per noi è quella di far sì che le esigenze di assistenza sanitaria di chi sbarca nella nostra piccola isola, talvolta con numeri straordinariamente alti, o anche in occasione di arrivi nella norma, ma con una elevata concentrazione di casi che richiedono assistenza sanitaria, non compromettono il funzionamento delle fragili strutture di assistenza di Lampedusa. Di garantire le integrazioni negative tra l'assistenza sanitaria riservata ai migranti e quella nella disponibilità della comunità locale siano ridotte al minimo. A questo scopo l'amministrazione comunale ha preso l'iniziativa di costituire un tavolo permanente coordinato dall'assessorato comunale alla salute che riunisce tutti gli attori coinvolti nella prima accoglienza dei migranti. Tra questi la Croce Rossa Italiana, che ha in gestione il centro di prima accoglienza, l'azienda sanitaria provinciale di Palermo, che è responsabile dell'assistenza sanitaria a Lampedusa, il Dipartimento di Ostetrica e Ginecologia e l'Istituto Nazionale per la Promozione della Salute delle Popolazioni Migranti. Il coordinamento tra gli attori sta portando all'attuazione di un piano di azione integrata che consente l'immediata individuazione delle esigenze di cura di ciascun migrante tramite un triage medico svolto già sul molo Favaloro immediatamente a seguito dello sbarco. Di ogni situazione viene valutata la gravità e l'urgenza e si decide se possa essere affrontata sull'isola o se sia necessario un trasferimento a Palermo in elisoccorso. Un'attenzione specifica è dedicata ai bambini nati poco prima o durante la traversata, alle donne in gravidanza che in molti casi, per via dell'enorme stress psicofisico causato dalla traversata, arrivano a Lampedusa in procinto di dover partorire. E visto che non sempre vi è il tempo per trasferirle nei soccorso, è stata attrezzata una stanza per poter effettuare dei parti di emergenza. Questo approccio integrato consente di ridurre al minimo il numero di migranti che accedono al poliambulatorio dell'isola ed è la prova che anche un piccolo comune, che è escluso dalla gestione diretta dei flussi migratori, possa prendere iniziative proattive che contribuiscono alla tutela del diritto alla salute dei migranti, tutelando al contempo il diritto alla salute della comunità locale. Grazie a tutti.
Thank you very much, Sindaco, for these very specific examples and issues that you are touching. They are very pragmatic. They really bring you to the problematic at the local level. And so we are very grateful that you inspire with that strong symbolism of your island in this topic, the work of the constituency in this field. And Lampedusa has inspired our charter. And I think there is no better place to talk about human dignity than there, because it is in a very dignified manner that the residents of Lampedusa are welcoming whoever does arrive, even if it is not the competence of the local government in many times to do the job. So thank you very much for that. Good luck in the plenary. And I'm going now to the mayor of Koboko in Uganda. Mayor Sanya, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. You are the result of migration yourself. You know very well what that implies. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. My name is Sanya Wilson. I am a mayor of a municipality on the extreme end of South Sudan and Congo. I get two categories of refugees. But what inspires me as a mayor is this. One is that I have a belief that a mayor is a dealer of hope. And that one keeps me going. Two, what inspires me is I have 100% belief that refugees are an opportunity to me as the mayor and to our community. I have also told the refugees that they are an opportunity to themselves if we integrate them successfully and if they accept to be integrated. With those quotes, I want to read this, my written speech quickly. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, my colleague mayors, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the cities and municipalities and local government hosting urban and self-settled refugees, I join the fellow panelists to emphasize on what innovative approaches can demonstrate the vital role of improved cooperation across different levels to achieve the global compact of refugees and its related goals as demonstrated in the integrated approach to management of refugees in Uganda. I think personally that donors, international community need to take advantage of the local government structures in place. This is the most important and effective way if we are to invest in municipalities and cities hosting refugees. For example, if international partners want to invest in education or health or livelihood, you have the education department or the health department already in place at the local government levels. There's no need to create a new structure. By investing in local structure, you're already helping to build local resilience of the cities. A strong example of cooperation across different levels in West Nile region, where my municipality is in Uganda, is that it stresses the relevance of data. Honestly, I really want to leave Geneva with this, that one of the take-homes that mayors can take is that we need to invest in data. Data that belongs to us, data that is by us, that is generated by us. And for us, it has happened in Koboko. I have done it. I am a mayor that runs the inclusion of the refugees based on scientific data. I don't guess. And if you don't have data, the mayor will automatically get fear. And once of fear, already I can guarantee you, xenophobia takes place. So for me, data is the most important thing that I really want everybody to take home. We need to invest, and I think that's one area that I want to commend the Swiss Development Corporation that has worked with the city of Arua, VNG, which stands for Association of Mayors in the Netherlands, that has worked with Koboko Municipality, for really investing in data in my region. And that, because of that, I also want to inform us and take note of this, that the government of Uganda yesterday, the president launched the 2024 census. And because of what the SDC and VNG through Cities Alliance did in my region, refugees are now part of the formula for resource allocation in Uganda. Before the launch, drugs development funds are given to my city, to cities in Uganda based on the census of 2014. That means I have to grapple as a mayor of Koboko municipality with only that original information. But I want to thank the government of Uganda. And that's one thing that is going to help now us. It's going to make even me when I get back home, that yes, I think now I can really go full-fledged to make sure I fix this. The formula for allocation of drugs, the formula for allocation of desks, books, toilets in schools now includes the refugees, the host community, and the migrants. So that solves for me the puzzle. Now I have nothing but to keep encouraging the people of my city about the language. And I want to emphasize this to all of you as a good practice, that there are no refugees in the Koboko municipality. They are my brothers and sisters whom I have to take care of them, build their capacity, so that when they get back to Congo and South Sudan, they can go back and develop their country. Just like what Emilia just said, I'm a former refugee in DRC Congo, former refugee in South Sudan, where I started my school. Today I become a mayor in Koboko 10 years, and refugees are coming. You really expect him to say, I don't want them, I will take them. And even if they are selling them, I would buy if I have the money. I would buy refugees and take them to my municipality and keep them. But since we don't have a program for buying, I cannot. So I really want to encourage us, and my point is this. The mayors have to be given the discretionary space to be able to generate local initiative to solve global challenges. The mayors needs to be part of the puzzle, part of the ecosystem, if we are to have sustainable and best practice can be replicated. And I want to conclude with reading this. I am thanking all the donors who have contributed to this big milestone, especially in reference to Koboko municipality supporting us, giving me the discretion space, giving me the opportunity to have data able to move. And best practices are now coming from donors like the Cities Alliance, the Swiss Development Corporation, the VNG, which stands for Association of Mayors in Netherlands, the European Union, who directly supported the building of capacity of local government by enabling them to gather data. I have a whole system now. I can gather data locally using my own way. I don't have to go to EU or to SDC. It's now being rooted in our institution. When we do that, when we do not have the data, you fear the future. And this brings xenophobia. That's why data is very important for planning and peace building. I thank you very much.
Mayor, you are going to be part and parcel of us managing to shift the paradigm and this old saying that think global and act local. Well, we think we need to think local and act global. Give you the space to find the solutions and we'll be okay. So proud that that data collection in your hands is also the product of decentralized cooperation and the very active support of our members and Cities Alliance. So proud of that. Thank you very much. Allow me now to go to the Mayor of Zurich, Mayor Caroline and Moch. And I would like to start by also thanking you for together with other Swiss local governments, opening up additional spaces for our ecosystem to interact with the United Nations here in Geneva, such as the Geneva Cities Hub, now Global Cities Hub. So very grateful for that. Our ecosystem is becoming stronger, and I am very happy that you are with us today. So welcome, Mayor. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to speak on the matter of multi-level governance at this important session on the contribution of cities to the Global Compact on Refugees. I am pleased to announce that Zurich, together with the Swiss government, other Swiss cities, as well as municipal and cantonal representations, is bringing a pledge on multi-level cooperation and the involvement of cities to the Global Refugee Forum. The asylum system in Switzerland is a tripartite responsibility. It is structured around the 3 state levels: national, cantonal, and municipal, and it is based on a system of delegated responsibilities, with municipalities often assuming responsibilities in socio-economic inclusion on behalf of their respective canton. Examples from recent history, most prominently the case of the Ukraine refugee response, have demonstrated the indispensable role Swiss cities are playing in the tripartite asylum system. The refugee response in this rapidly changing and unpredictable situation has unveiled potential for improvement in communication, in coordination, and decision-making among the 3 state level. The situation was people from Ukraine, they were coming to Zurich, they were arriving at the main station of Zurich. There was no system established from the sides of the nation or from the canton, but they were there. They were there. We had to do something. So this is, I think, the situation cities are in, and that's why they are acting. To match their commitment and critical contribution for refugee assistance and inclusion, several Swiss cities have collectively claimed more involvement in national refugee policy making through various advocacy initiatives in the past years. In recognition of the mutual benefits that systematic coordination and collaboration brings to all three involved state levels in effectively steering refugee policy in Switzerland, a pledge on enhancing the cooperation of all state levels in Swiss refugee policy, and particularly the involvement of cities, was initiated by Zurich and elaborated in cooperation with partners representing the Swiss tripartite system. I would like to stress that this pledge became possible thanks to enabling framework conditions at national level in the lead up to the GRF. Coordinated by the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, represented at this session as well, the Swiss government established a whole of society process that promoted the development of joint pledges by stakeholders and the national government. It is particularly noteworthy that the City of Zurich, as well as a civil society organization and a refugee representative, were invited to join the Swiss GRF delegation. Zurich is in a privileged position because only a handful of local governments have been invited to join national government consultations about the Global Compact on Refugees. This shows that while multi-level governance is a principle of this GCR, it remains a barrier in practice. Although cities are part of the state government system in global policy processes, they are often reduced to the role of mere implementers of national refugee policy and relegated to the category of non-state actor, which is quite strange. Through our membership in the Mayor's Migration Council, fellow mayors and I are at the GRF to clarify the pivotal role cities should be playing in the intersection of local action for refugees and refugee policy making at national and even global level. Due to their proximity to the population in general and the reality of the refugees in particular, cities must become key partners of the higher levels of government in the design of effective refugee policy. At the same time, cities are important partners for local civil society actors in the work for inclusion and for social cohesion. The recognition of this strategic dual role of cities in the national context for a functioning refugee system is an important message that mayors collectively bring to the Global Refugee Forum. Hence, the inclusion of cities in the GRF does not simply serve the visibility of cities, but is a recognition that effective policies require the involvement of all actors concerned, especially the cities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A long-standing pledge of the organizations of cities before the United Nations system. We are not NGOs, we are a sphere of government, and as such, we need to be recognized, and that is also why it's not good enough to be included in the national delegations, but we need to be able to have our own delegation coming here, self-organized. So thank you very much for pushing in that direction, all of you. Allow me now to go to Rwanda. I'm very happy to have the mayor of Nyamagabe here, Mayor Hildebrand. Thank you also for having welcomed the CLGF forum in your country, together with the city of Kigali. We're very proud that you're joining us. The floor is yours.
Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Thank you for having me on this panel. It's a pleasure to be surrounded by other mayors and the local leaders who demonstrate such a strong commitment to not only their electorate, but their displaced communities. In our call to local action, Nyamagabe District has committed to build community resilience and adaptive capacity for people living in Nyamagabe and the nearby Kijeme refugee camp, whose lives and livelihood are severely impacted by deforestation, land degradation, floods, and landslides. The project has already engaged 480 people, including 200 migrants and refugees, in terracing hillside prone to landslides into viable agricultural areas, converting waste into renewable energy, and providing basic infrastructure and utilities for additional residential plots. These environmentally friendly livelihood opportunities, coupled with training on climate-smart agricultural practices, contribute to enhancing living conditions for Nyamagabe displaced population and the long-term residents of the district, while reinforcing food security, improving resettled housing options, and mitigating exposure to natural hazards. But it would be remiss not to highlight the importance of partnerships in making this pledge a reality. Nyamagabe's pledge is supported by the Mayor's Migration Council's Global Cities Fund in partnership with UNHCR Rwanda and has backing from the national government, which at the first Global Refugee Forum made pledges on energy and environment, which continue to form the backbone of our local commitments in Nyamagabe district. Now, we need the international community to follow the Mayor's Migration Council's model behavior by further investing in small but welcoming cities, such as our own Nyamagabe, to bring this work to scale. We have proven that doing so will not only improve living conditions for refugees and the receiving communities, but demonstrate displaced communities' role in the green transition as well. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for the work that you do, and let us hope that that investment goes into general local service provision from all the donors around the world, because that is the real backbone of good policy and management of migration, as we were saying yesterday. And allow me now to go to San Benito, Guatemala, el alcalde Carlos Cuilén Morales. Qué gusto tenerle con nosotros, alcalde. A usted la palabra.
Muy buenos días a todos los compañeros panelistas. Muy buenos días a todas las personas acá presentes en este salón. La verdad que al escuchar pues tantas ponencias de compañeros que pasaron anteriormente y los que están actualmente, pues uno quisiera decir muchas cosas. Sabemos que el tiempo aquí es limitado, pero quiero decirles primero que cuando recibí esta invitación, yo vivo en un municipio de San Benito, Petén, allá por si algún día han escuchado Tikal, la tierra de los mayas. Vivo en un municipio, el más pequeño del departamento, con 80,000 habitantes en él. Y pues cuando te recibí la invitación por ACNUR, en su momento dudé mucho en venir, porque allá en mi pueblo este es el mejor mes del año, allá la Navidad y el Año Nuevo significan mucho. Y allá hay mucho calor humano ahorita prácticamente, posiblemente área de frío, pero con mucho calor. Pero no me arrepiento de haber venido. En primer lugar, gracias a la Embajada de Guatemala, Alicia, gracias por sus atenciones. Gracias a todas las personas con las que he podido platicar un poco en español y muy poco del inglés. Pero he sentido una acogida, me siento acogido acá, me siento refugiado acá con ustedes, pero me siento bastante bien. Y quiero manifestarles a ustedes que aún con toda la atención que uno recibe acá, con todo el calor, con todos los saludos, con todas las comodidades, extrañamos nuestras tierras. Imaginemos cómo extrañan su tierra las personas que son refugiadas. Imaginemos cómo aquel que sale de su país en donde deja todo, sus viviendas, sus pertenencias, sus raíces, sus costumbres, sus amigos, se tienen que volver hacia otro país para encontrar algo nuevo. En el departamento de Petén, en San Benito, yo creo que el modelo de las ciudades solidarias que ACNUR ha implementado, pues es compromiso de nosotros como alcaldes, como autoridades locales, el velar porque estas personas no se sientan como que son de otro lugar, porque empieza un puesto de discriminación en ellos. Sienten como que no tienen el derecho a toda la atención que hay. Y es ahí donde nosotros, en el momento que ellos llegan, los acogemos de una forma en donde los hacemos sentir como hermanos guatemaltecos, como personas que tienen los mismos derechos y las mismas oportunidades como deben de gozar todas las personas que habitan en nuestro municipio. Esto no es fácil en ellos. Tenemos que hacer una serie de reuniones y de atenciones para ello. ¿Cómo nosotros los hacemos? ¿Cómo lo hacemos nosotros de una forma de inclusión? Cuando el compañero, el amigo alcalde de Perú, manifestó que la educación, la salud no son programas municipales, es completamente de acuerdo, lo mismo que en Guatemala. Estos son compromisos que deben de guardar los ministerios de salud, el Ministerio de Educación, el Ministerio de Gobernación en cuanto a seguridad y el Ministerio de Cultura y Deportes en cuanto a la promoción de la cultura y el deporte. Pero definitivamente no podemos dejar esas cargas cuando un gobierno de repente no puede cumplir con todo ello. Quiero manifestarles a ustedes que el municipio de San Benito cuenta con una clínica municipal propia. Recuerdo que hace 8 años, gracias a Dios y al pueblo, que me dio la oportunidad de empezar en el año 2016 como alcalde, de cual he ganado 2 elecciones y el 15 de enero voy a iniciar una tercera, debido pues la gente que ha confiado en mi gestión. En el año 2016 se inició una clínica municipal en donde todos los servicios médicos, como son las consultas, los exámenes especiales y los medicamentos, son completamente gratuitos para toda la población de San Benito. No pagan un solo centavo, porque cuando estas personas van al hospital, definitivamente personas con escasos recursos van al hospital, reciben la atención, pero les dan la receta y deben de comprar medicamentos que valen cientos o miles de quetzales para lograr un beneficio o una curación a su enfermedad. Esto no pasa en mi municipio. En mi municipio, toda aquella persona que tiene esto, pues tiene también todo de una forma gratis. A veces yo recuerdo que una vez llegó el alto comisionado y me dijo, ¿y cómo haces esto? Pues yo creo que cuando los fondos se invierten de una forma adecuada, alcanza para todo y para muchas cosas más. Esto es algo que a nosotros nos hace diferente a los demás municipios, en donde las personas logran el acceso a la salud. Mensualmente atendemos un promedio de más de 4,500 consultas mensuales, en donde todos los sanbenitenses, y cuando hablo de todos los sanbenitenses, estoy incluyendo a las familias acogidas o refugiadas, porque para nosotros ellos son ellos, ¿verdad? Solo me voy a apurar un poco más, perdón. Tenemos a las mujeres en un tema de inclusión. Tenemos 150 grupos de mujeres organizadas a quienes se les dan capacitaciones. Se les da empoderamiento económico para que ellos puedan ayudar y aportar a su familia. Tenemos un promedio de 2,500 mujeres en 150 grupos y esto hace pues éxito para que ellas se sientan tomadas en cuenta, incluidas en nuestros trabajos. Solo quiero decir algo. No sé si algún día estas personas van a regresar a sus países, porque sus hijos se están encontrando de una forma con mucho apego, con mucha empatía, con mucho amor en nuestros municipios. Pero ojalá que algún día dejen de haber más personas refugiadas en otros países. Esto solo lo vamos a lograr cuando aquel discurso de todos los gobiernos de la paz mundial se ponga en práctica. Así que espero que haya ACNUR por mucho tiempo para todos aquellos que necesitan el refugio en cualquier país. Sean ustedes bienvenidos el día de hoy y muchas gracias por escucharme.
Muchas gracias, alcalde, por traernos esta parte tan humana y tan bonita de recepción. Aquí nos hace falta recordarlo. Muchas gracias. Nos ha hecho parte de San Benito.
Gracias.
I'm very pleased to give the floor now to someone that is not usually with us in this kind of days. We don't usually have banks joining us. No. But this time we do. And I really hope that the head of European relations of the Council of Europe Development Bank has been convinced about how important it is to invest in local governments. I'm very pleased to have you with us. The floor is yours, Mr. Vitomir Miles Draguts.
So thank you very much. Yeah, very pleased to be here because I represent an institution that you wouldn't generally see here. But I think, yeah, I wanted to come to say also, yeah, we as banks, development banks especially, are dealing with this issue with you on your level, actually, and we have been doing it for decades. Actually, our bank, just a little bit of history, and I'll move forward, was set up about 65 years ago to deal with a migrant crisis after World War II, when the Europeans were resettling all over the continent and needed housing. So we were basically set up by 5 bigger European states, and we're still around, basically providing housing and other social care. Our first big migrant crisis after World War II was the former Yugoslavia conflict. And then came the Syrian crisis. And this has really kind of refocused our thinking and our practices and our products to new challenges. So we started getting involved at a very early stage and with grants, not only with loans. The loans are still there, but we thought grants were very important, not necessarily in the frontline states, like in the case of Syria with Turkey and with Greece, but with the transition countries that came after Greece, the Balkans, of course. So basically, we have been providing grants for the last 7 years, in total about 40 million euros from us, from our retained earnings and from our members, and about 300 million from others, mostly the European Commission, who came to us asking us, given our expertise and local knowledge, to help them implement some of their budgets allocated for migrants. So basically, yeah, I would now like to connect to the cities, and actually being the last speaker is really is a plus, because you benefit from the ideas that are brought to the table and bring the issues closer to home. So I'd like to focus on 2 issues brought up by Mayor Wilson from Koboko, and to my neighbor for today, one issue. Why this is something that we also discovered in our last year of grant provision for countries and cities that need support. Number one issue that was mentioned by Mayor Wilson is the issue of data. And from our experience, yeah, we saw it in the Western Balkans. This is very important for us. This is very important for you as the implementer of donor funds and of support. And you can get actually very good data today from UNHCR and also from IOM. And they have the capacity really to customize it to your needs. And yeah, unfortunately, only for the European cities, because we only operate in Europe, we are really ready to provide grants, for this startup activity. Local ownership, absolutely important. And yeah, we saw that in the Balkan countries. So right away, we actually helped Belgrade as the capital city set up its own unit to, oops, okay, I'm already over. Okay. So we're ready to provide support for this. It's very important. Our grants, we also want to benefit local communities, not only migrants. This is very important. And the last thing is even small cities can benefit. For instance, Ceuta and Melilla, they needed NATO healthcare. Of course, they're very small, and it's the type of equipment that they usually do not have. We came in and helped them out. So, oops, okay. Thanks very much.
Time always flies. I've done a terrible job. I want to really thank all the panelists here because they have brought really incredible experience. And we now have an open floor with a list of speakers. With them, we will be really strict. I'm so sorry. It's 1 minute only. You know that. And let us start with the Intercultural Cities Pledge by Ms. Tatiana Termatic.
Thank you very much. And it's a great transition after the Council of Europe Development Bank. So the Council of Europe is promoting a new social contract, creating a sense of togetherness, a precondition to integration. And today, I'm delighted to announce our contribution to the multi-stakeholders pledge towards a call to local action for migrants and refugees, through which the Council of Europe will support local and regional authorities, notably through its Intercultural Cities program. The aim will be that all the diverse groups of people living together in the same community, including migrants and refugees, have access to the same services and see their needs met. So thank you very much. I will stop here.
Thank you very much for that pledge and this announcement. And allow me now to go to the Secretaria del Migrante del Estado de Guanajuato, Susana Guerrera. Adelante.
Guerra, muchas gracias. Yo vengo de México, de un estado que se llama Guanajuato, que se encuentra en el centro de México, que tiene una particularidad importante en términos de movilidad humana. Nosotros atendemos mucho de la migración que se conoce, que llega siendo transportada por el tema de la bestia, este tren que mueve a cientos y a miles de personas, en la gran mayoría para llegar a Estados Unidos, y nosotros, por la ubicación geográfica, somos una parada necesaria. Los menos se acogen a algún programa de ACNUR. Sin embargo, esta movilidad en tránsito impacta mucho a las comunidades locales. Hemos trabajado con ACNUR para atender a este grupo de refugiados en un estado de 6 millones de habitantes. Tenemos aproximadamente 400 personas que solicitaron acogerse al programa de protección internacional de ACNUR y hemos generado diferentes acciones sociales para atender a este grupo. Pues, muy poco el tiempo para poder abundar, pero muchas gracias por la participación.
Muchísimas gracias, Susana Guerra, por esto y sentimos mucho ese minutito nomás. Am I understanding that it's from Fundao? No? So we're going to the European Union? All right. So a commitment from the European Union, Vittorio Capici.
Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure to be among you today. With the few seconds I have, I would like to announce on behalf of the EU the pledge to support local authorities' actions integrating refugees and IDPs in their host communities. This pledge from the European Union amounts to 34.7 million euros to be spent entirely on urban displacement. The aim is to strengthen the skills of local authorities and the synergies between them, as well as empowering cities, civil society, and refugee-led organizations to contribute to the implementation of dedicated programs. Examples of these programs include the sustainable urban integration of displacement-affected communities in DRC, Ethiopia, Somalia, Sudan, and Uganda, support going through the comprehensive refugee response framework in Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, and DRC, Somalia, where we will support early solutions and enhancing progress towards climate-conscious, durable solutions for displacement-affected people in urban centers. And lastly, in Latin America and the Caribbean, the EU will support inclusive city programs and support local actors to include refugees and IDPs into host communities operating in Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, Dominican Republic, Panama, and Trinidad and Tobago. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I'm going to be very brief from the Swiss side. We will stand with you and we will make a lot of noise in the next 4 years so that when the next GRF happens, we can deepen some of the conversations, for example, on financing that goes directly to local governments, on enhancing the political voice so that you're not non-state actors, but that you're local government actors. And as a member state, there is for sure a big reform ahead on making the UN even more participatory than it is today.
Thank you very much. I can only agree with you. We are completely converging. I think we have heard really fascinating stories today from very practical solutions. I told to my colleague, it sounds so simple and natural when cities, local government do the job. So what is going wrong elsewhere? So we need to learn, and as it said, we need local governments to be recognized as full partners, not as NGOs, not as side events, not as like, faire valoir. So really need to have them fully recognized and in European and other privileged cities to learn from you, because sometimes we are much more complicated than you are in some African or Latin American or Asian countries, especially the relation between local population and migrants, and to see migrants as an opportunity and not as a threat. Thank you very much.
And that brings us, unfortunately, one wishes to have more time, but we have restrictions in the UN system. We are so really touched by this active and vibrant dialogue, participation by our esteemed mayors, our partners. We would like to thank on behalf of UNHCR, I would like to thank our wonderful moderators, Vittoria Zanuso and Emilia Saiz as well, and really recognize all this participation to be continued as we were reminded that this dialogue will continue. And from the bottom of our hearts, for our special refugee speakers, Farhad Atay and Sadika Nevruzi, we would like to really thank yourselves for being part of this dialogue. Thank you. This brings us to the closure.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Amelia. Wonderful, I know. No, everybody go it's over. Thank you. You were the only one who kept time. But it was also wonderful. Thank you so much.